Well, I think we see town and parish councils as playing an important part in strengthening local democracy. It's quite true that we concentrated on the unitary and district councils that are the main deliverers of service. But as the document made clear, there are different levels at which citizens can shape their services. One of that is the ability to elect a district or a county or a unitary councillor who's on a formal scrutiny committee. But part of that is closer to home. And I think that the ability to elect somebody to a town or parish council who is your voice, who will be delivering some local services to you, but can also be representing you, lobbying you on your behalf to the local council, is a very important part of the process. So this is all about not strengthening the rights of individual institutions, it's all about the citizen. I think to some extent this becomes a debate about the number of angels on the head of a pin. If you take a general power of competence literally, then it includes the right to declare war and the right to invent new taxes to put on your local citizens. And in reality, I don't think any government is going to take a power of general competence that far. At the moment, we have no plans to take that further forward. There is a lot going on, I think, in local government at the moment, particularly district councils, sharing chief executives, key staffing appointments, working out how you can keep the accountability of a local district council, but the efficiency of a larger body, and in principle that's something that I'm very happy to see develop. I think my honest view is I think we've probably reached a good settlement with town and parish councils. We have the flexibility to develop them in parts of the country where they are wanted. I think that they clearly in many areas give people this additional voice and the ability to respond to local circumstances. So I don't think I would hold out sort of some profound change in the role of parish and town councils. I think it's interesting, if I look at the correspondence that I sign off, that there continues to be an interest in developing new parish councils and new town councils up and down the country, and I think that it's probably in the mood of the times that people can see the value of seeing a body that's closer to home. Well, I mean, no decisions have been taken, anywhere in government about funding beyond that point. Yeah. I think the investment we're making is about £750,000 in that. There's always been, I think, a strong element of that where that was seen as money put into the system to get the system up and running, to provide services that would continue after the funding came to an end. That's always been an element of it. I think over the next year is the time that we would have the discussion with the NALC about whether there is a need for or scope for funding beyond that. So I can't make promises at the moment, but it's also not a discussion that I want to close down at this stage. I think in the past, just looked at you to correct me, but I think in the past we said in the community strategy that there was a possibility of the right of appeal under those circumstances. Absolutely. And that is something that we are still committed to in principle. It's always a matter of legislative time to do that, but I think that is a possibility. If you wanted to ask me personally, I think it's the sort of legislation that you might well want on the statute book, but I would hate it to become the alternative to really trying to sort things out locally and get political agreement. And I think in many of these areas you would still always say that you really wanted people to talk the issues through, try to reach agreement, try to come to a consensus that this was in the best interest of the area, rather than thinking that the shortcut to achieving this would be to go round the district council or the unitary authority and go straight to the minister. I think you have to take different elements separately, perhaps. If you switch the money from one budget to another, if you spent it differently, perhaps we could get a better impact. So, a parish council might be better able to look at issues affecting young people in its area and say to the lead authorities, actually, if you spent the money differently, if the police approached policing differently, if the youth work budget was spent differently, if we could do this, we would have a better outcome for our young people. So I would primarily, I think, see, in addition to its own money, the parish or town council being a very powerful voice as to how money could be used differently. Parish and town councils clearly needs to take a fairly measured judgment if their local, their district council is asking them to take over a service which was previously provided centrally, because of the costs that would then fall on local taxpayers. I think that the mood across our society is for people to have more local control and local say in what goes on in their neighbourhoods, what goes on in their communities. And I think that people will want to balance the demand for value for money and efficiency, which everyone knows has to come because of the overall financial circumstances, with organisations and services that are responsive to local people and local need. It seems to me that parish and town councils are sort of designed to meet that need for local people, and I would be confident that more people will want them, and more parish and town councils will want to expand their role and their horizons and their ability to shape things for local people.